4 years ago today, a gunman opened fire inside a Table Mesa King Soopers, killing 10 people. They were parents, community members, shoppers, workers, and a police officer. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Jennifer Meckles. Every year on this day, the Boulder community comes together for a day of remembrance. 9 News reporter Colton Chavez shows us why some say this year feels different.
This year, the Day of Remembrance was held here at the Museum of Boulder. Families talked about a lot of things, including a guilty verdict that was handed down.
My words today aren't going to have the anger. They're not going to have the hatred.
An annual Day of Remembrance fueled this year by something else.
Because of his team that fought so hard to bring justice to this situation, I can now take a breath. I can now smile. I can now laugh.
A guilty verdict for the man who shot and killed 10 people in a Boulder King Soopers in 2021 have family members who lost loved ones filled with gratitude.
I've learned from you, and I'm so grateful for you. I love how different we each all are, and yet we support one another and we love one another.
Love for each other and for the ones who were lost that day.
That's my girl.
Philippe Bernier says people knew his girl as Susie.
She worked for Medicare, and she would talk to people that she knew that she couldn't help, and she wasn't going to get money from them. She'd spend an hour with them.
Philippe says the last memory of his wife was filled with her selfless nature.
I was going to have an operation the next day, and she went to King Soopers to get me Jell-O and ginger ale. And that was the last thing I talked to her about, was make sure it's Canada Dry, not some other brand. And then I just thought she wasn't coming home, and I didn't understand.
Boulder Mayor Aaron Brockett says he will continue to fight for an end to gun violence so all loved ones like Susie make it home safe.
We've passed an assault weapons ban here locally. That is still tied up in the courts, but we're optimistic that that's going to go through.
Optimism on this Day of Remembrance in Boulder.
That we know that we're stronger together.
Holding strong for the ones we have and the ones that have been lost but never forgotten.
Right, Susie?
In Boulder, Colton Chavez, 9 News.
And the man who killed 10 people was found guilty on all the charges in September of last year. He is currently serving 10 consecutive life sentences in prison, plus an additional 1,334 years. Today also marks 2 years since a student at East High School in Denver shot 2 staff members. Now, one of those school administrators has filed a lawsuit. Back in 2023, a 17-year-old student shot Wayne Mason and Eric Sinclair. They were both deans at the school at the time. And now Mason has filed a lawsuit saying that shooting could have been prevented. It points out that the shooter had a history of issues with firearms, that when he enrolled at East High School 2 months before the shooting, DPS put him on a safety plan that ultimately turned into check-ins before school and then eventually mandatory searches before the shooting because he was spotted with a gun. The lawsuit argues Denver Public Schools did not provide administrators with adequate training on how to search and pat down students. Okay, let's talk about your forecast. We've had a beautiful and very warm introduction to spring around Colorado, but those winds, boy, they've been kicking up. You gotta see them move in the trees here in this video. It's also been creating some fire danger. And this is a picture of the winds over Horsetooth Reservoir this afternoon. Camera, again, shaking just a little bit. Meantime, the mountains saw several inches of snow today. Here's a live look at Steamboat tonight. High Country got most of the snow, leaving a nice round of fresh powder for anyone looking to hit the slopes this weekend. Corey Reppenhagen joins us now. So good news if you're chasing powder. Hopefully some of that will translate to lower fire danger as well.
Yeah, exactly, and it definitely will. So as far as that snow is concerned, today was a little bit of a rough ski day because the trip to the ski areas and back was a little slow, and it was blowing hard and snowing all day. So a big time goggle day. Tomorrow, there's gonna be fresh powder and some blue skies. So a much better day for you tomorrow. So if you have time and the ability to get there on Sunday, fresh powder awaits. The snow's still going up there, and it will all the way until about midnight. So we got a couple more hours of snow still to go here. Here's some good news. These are the current wind gusts through the Denver area, starting to diminish just a little bit. Every once in a while, we'll still get a 25-mile-per-hour gust, but it's simmering down just a tad bit, a little bit better up on the front range or up on the northern front range as well. And the high temperatures today, were really nice. We had some 70s down here in the Southeast Plains, some 60s in our area, that's 63 in Denver. We'll have a very similar day tomorrow, up into the low 60s. This storm system will be out of here on Monday. I'll have more on the forecast coming up.
Corey, thank you. A worker at a Denver homeless shelter is now facing charges for sexually assaulting a woman who was staying there. Denver police say this happened early yesterday morning at the city's shelter on Quebec Street near I-70. 9 News reporter Evan Krugel was the first to report this story, and today he spoke with witnesses who reportedly pulled that man off the victim.
It was just after midnight.
Yeah.
When Volley and his wife Hennessy heard screams coming from down the hall at this Denver shelter.
A horrible, horrific scream. And so me and my husband jumped up. We ran until the noise stopped, you know what I mean? We knew it was between 3 rooms.
Volley says he ran to get security, who opened the locked door.
I'm thinking that this girl's gonna die and that we need to save her and get away from this guy. Because he wasn't stopping. It didn't matter if we were there or not. He was still trying to do what he was trying to do to this girl. I went and grabbed a hockey stick, and then I had told one of our friends, I was like, move out the way, move out the way. And I hit him 2 times in his eye as hard as I could. And then he finally let go with one hand and he covered his eye.
That suspect, 43-year-old Billy Johnson, appeared in court today on charges of felony sexual assault. Johnson has a long criminal history, including a felony conviction for kidnapping, raising questions from this couple about why he was hired by the Salvation Army.
He's got one of the master fobs for the doors because he's the night manager for all the staff.
Court records show Johnson was sentenced to 24 years in prison for felony kidnapping back in 2015. It's unclear when he was released or if he is on parole.
I don't know, there's no words for it. You know what I mean? I'm speechless. I mean, it's a place that's supposed to help people, you know what I mean? And you think that they'd be more thorough with their background checks and stuff like that, people that they'd have working with them and for them.
They should put him away for life, man, because somebody who is capable of doing that to somebody, I mean, really, he could do that to anybody.
That was Evan Krugel reporting. Right now, Johnson's being held on a $100,000 cash bond. The Salvation Army told us yesterday they are cooperating with the Denver Police Department's investigation, but when we tried to ask additional follow-up questions, they said they will not answer anything about what happened while that investigation is underway. A couple other things that happened around the metro this week. And Aurora police say a man died after someone shot him in his apartment. This happened on Adriatic Drive just after 10 o'clock last night. Investigators say a downstairs neighbor heard some kind of commotion, went upstairs, and found the man who'd been shot. That man died at the hospital, and police have yet to provide any information about a suspect, but say they are investigating this as a homicide. Tonight, we're following some developing news out of New Mexico, where a shooting at a park left 3 people dead and 15 others hurt. Police say this happened in Las Cruces around 10 o'clock last night during some kind of an unsanctioned car show. Investigators say there were 2 different groups. They got into a fight. Ultimately, it escalated to a shooting. 2 19-year-old men and a 16-year-old boy were killed. Today, the police chief says police end up at this park far too often.
That area has been troubled with crime more so in recent years, and I spoke about it during an interim committee meeting recently about the level of violence we've seen in that park. So in spite of some of the efforts, we are still struggling with that, obviously.
Police say they've not made any arrests so far, but they are following several leads. President Trump has revoked security clearances for several of his political rivals. This includes former Vice President Kamala Harris, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Some of the same folks include members of the Biden family. Technically, they've already lost their clearances earlier this month. Historically, former presidents could still be briefed on certain sensitive matters. It's kind of like a courtesy system. But this reads like a sort of payback, because you'll remember Biden pulled Trump's access to classified briefings after the insurrection. This weekend, Trump also took away clearance for the Republicans who served on the House committee that investigated his role in the January 6th insurrection. Members of the House and the Senate will be back in Washington next week after congressional recess. It's been a busy and often tense week for many of them back home. Both Republican and Democratic leaders across the country have hosted town halls in their home districts that have been flooded with angry constituents. Many Colorado lawmakers, like Republican Lauren Boebert and Gabe Evans, they've been criticized for not holding any town halls. And then also this week, protesters were escorted out of a town hall that was hosted by Democratic Senator Michael Bennet. Lots of voters are telling him they're angry about the federal layoffs, over Trump's cabinet picks, and at Bennett's town hall specifically, one woman said he and the other Dems just aren't doing enough.
It really doesn't seem like there's a plan. I know that you say I know that you say that we are the founders and we are the leaders, but come on, I feel like you're talking pretty.
We followed up with Bennett after that town hall and asked him if Democrats have a plan to push back on the Trump administration's actions. He told us it's clear they need to develop a better one. Members of the House and Senate will be back on Capitol Hill on Monday. It is whiplash for a lot of federal workers. Weeks after layoffs hit the Veterans Affairs office in Colorado, some former workers say they got a call from their former bosses asking them to come back to the office. According to our partners at the Denver Gazette, some were even promised back pay for the time they were out of office. Sources say that news was announced at a town hall meeting yesterday, and this comes after a ruling from a federal judge that these probationary employees, which are often newer to their roles and have less job protections, can only be fired for actual performance reasons.